Welcome boys. Today I am going to take a online class of class 7 English version on agriculture. We have already started chapter 4. Previous class Imtiaz sir has taken the class on the lesson 1, 2 and 3. Today I am going to take the second part of this chapter on lesson 4, 5. I think all of you are fine and giving attention to the classes regularly and doing the necessary steps at your home. Okay boys, so let's start the class today. First of all, we should know what season neutral crops. What is season neutral crops? Crops which are depend on season, which are not depend on season, especially on day, night, length, and can cultivate it throughout the whole year, known as season neutral crops. Earlier, Imtiaz sir has been explained you the Rabi crops, Kharif season crops. So, beside the two type crops, there is a crops which is known as season neutral crops. That means that are not depend on Rabi season and Kharif season. And you also know the characteristics of Rabi season and Kharif season. So, these crops are not depend on the characteristics of Rabi and Kharif. That's why they are called season neutral crops. Such crops are red amaranth, eggplants, papaya, chili, banana, maize, groundnut. Amongst these crops, maize and groundnut are not horticulture crops. They are field crops. Okay? So let us know more about some season neutral crops. What are the main characteristics of season neutral crops? Here are the characteristics. First of all, they can be grown in both low and high temperature. As earlier we have said that they not depend on Rabi season or Kharif season characteristics. In Rabi season, the characteristics is low temperature, and Kharif season high temperature. So they not depend on this temperature. They can be grown in both temperature. Number B, second characteristic is that they can be grown in both less rain and heavy rain. So heavy rainfall or shortage of rain is not requirement of these crops. They can be grown in both low and high humidity. They can produce flower in both short and long day lengths. Short day, that means when the sunlight stays for a short time, rather in comparing to the long day length. So these are the main characteristics of season neutral crops. Now, already we come to know that weather and climate is a great influence on crop production. The great influence on crop production. So let us see the good impact of weather and climate on crops production. Crops production depends on weather and climate. Which crops will produce better in which place is depend on that area's weather and climate. Not all places are good for all crops. The place suitable for which crops is depend on that place, weather and climate. So let us know which thing of weather are basically crops are dependent, and what are the conditions for good crop production. First of all, sunlight is a part of weather and climate, we know, and that is very essential for crops. Sunlight is an essential element for crops to make food for itself in photosynthesis. Earlier classes you have already know what is photosynthesis, how crops and plants are taking sunlight to make their own food in presence of chloroplast, carbon dioxide and water. So sunlight is mandatory for that process. Okay, so here sunlight has a good impact on crops production. On the basis of need of sunlight, crops are divided into two groups. Number one, light loving crops. That means they require most of the time the crops production in the crops production they require most of the time they require light. And shadow loving plants, that means if there is not that much light, it should be okay for their crops production. What are the examples for light loving crops? It is sugar cane and maize, and shadow loving crops it is tea and coffee. Now let us look another scenery of sunlight, impact of sunlight. On basis of day length sensitivity, crops are divided into three types. That means sunlight actually a period of time it falls for much time, and a period of time it falls for less time. In summer season we get sunlight for the more than 12 hours almost, and in winter season we are not getting for 12 hours, less than 12 hours we are getting the sunlight. So on base of that thing, crops are divided into three types. So what are the first type crop? It is long day crops, that is which are very much needed sunlight. For producing flower and fruits they need at least 12 hours of daylight. Daylight means obviously sunlight. So this type of crops are Aus rice, ashgourd, sponge gourd, jute, sorry the spelling is missing here, snake gourd, etc. So you can easily understand these are actually Kharif season crops, or as we can say that are summer season crops, because these characteristics that we have more than 12 hours light, it is only in summer season. So let's go to the second type, that is short day crops. That means when we don't have sunlight for more than 12 hours. For producing flowers and fruits they need less than 12 hours of day length. That means they don't need more than 12 hours, they need less than 12 hours, and they are wheat, mustard, almond rice, gimakulmi, Indian spinach. So you can easily realize this type of crops are actually winter season crops or rabi crops. Okay, so let us go to the third type, and that is day neutral crops. Already we come to know about season neutral crops. So season neutral and day neutral is almost same, because it is not dependent on daylight. They can produce fruits and flowers in any day length. That means if it is more than 12 hours or less than 12 hours, that doesn't matter for them. Examples are also same, groundnut, banana, tomato, etc. are the example of day neutral crops. Day neutral. Next, weather element, that is heat. It is also coming from sunlight, but how much heat it require for crops, on base of that heat is a good influence of crops production. Survival of plants depend on heat. Crops choose three temperatures such as minimum, maximum and optimum. That means at lowest which temperature they can survive, that is minimum. At highest which temperature they can survive, that is maximum. And on average temperature, or not that much high, not that much low, which temperature they actually can survive, that is optimum temperature. So there are three types of temperature, and all these three types of temperature is known as cardinal temperature. So on base of this cardinal temperature, which plants need which type of temperature, they're divided into two types. Number one, cool season crops. That means they don't need that much temperature. If the temperature is low, then it's also okay. Crops which are grow in low temperature is known as cool season crops. Example, wheat, potato, chickpea, cauliflower, lentil, knolkol, etc. For their growth, they require minimum. What is the minimum temperature? At lowest, how much they can survive. Okay, so 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, the minimum temperature. Average temperature is 25 to 31 degrees Celsius, and maximum temperature is 31 to 37 degrees Celsius. So these are the requirements for cool season crops. Now let's move to second type, that is hot season crops. That means they can grow in high temperature, such as the crops are jute, rubber, cassava. For their growth, they require minimum of 15 to 18 degrees Celsius, optimum 31 to 37 degrees Celsius, and maximum 44 to 50 degrees Celsius temperature. So these were the impact of or influence of heat on crop production. Let us move to the next element of weather and climate that make influence on crop production, that is rainfall. We know water is very necessary for crops, and for that they are taking the water from soil basically, and from here they are taking little amount of water, but basically they are taking the water from soil. So they depend on soil water. Rain is the key source of water for crops because there are so many sources. Earlier in chapter 2 we have discussed about irrigation. That is one type of water source for crops. Rain is another one. So rainfall is blessing for crops. That's why for rainfall variance, if the rainfall somewhere much, somewhere less, it may vary in the crops production. So depend on this rainfall, different crops grow in different place better. Let us come to next point, that is air current or air flow. Air current control respiration, pollination of flower. That is the main thing of fruitification. That means from flower to growing fruit, pollination is must. So that is dependent on air current. If there is not that much air current, then it is not good for crops. And photosynthesis is also dependent on air current, because if the air is not moving, then they are not getting that much amount of carbon dioxide and other requirements from air. Okay. So come to the next point, that is relative humidity in the air. We already got to know that humidity is a big factor for crops production. In the initial growth phase of crops, they need high humidity. For grow out from soil to the out from soil, they need high humidity, while low humidity can cause shrinkage of grain at granulation phase. So there are two conditions. So you can easily realize relative humidity in the air is very much necessary for crops production. Too much humidity proves up the spread, and if it is much humidity, it can also hamper the crops production by disease and insect. Okay, so let us come to the last point of impact of good impact of weather on crops production, that is dew and fog. Sometimes they make favorable environment is created by dew and fog for spreading of diseases. Not always dew and fog have good, sometimes they're making bad impact also. So these are the, actually sometimes these are doing good and sometimes bad. So I have discussed the good impact of weather and climate on crops production. So you can go through the lessons and realize the topics as I explained. If you face any problem, then feel free to comment, and if you have any question, then let me know. And next topic, it will be discussed later. This is all for today, boys. Stay safe at home and study regularly. Okay, bye for today.